Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome to another episode of me cutting up some trees that have passed. Honestly, it's good. If I was a tree, I would want to be carved into some vase or something. So I'm making an elephant-shaped vase. These don't really start off as animal thoughts or like I'm gonna make some animal things. I love animals, but like it's not. I don't know. It seems like kind of the child, whatever. Elementary, I should say. Animals are cool. What am I saying? I'll beat myself up for liking animals. So the first one was kind of there's just shapes. There's just shapes I like sketched out. I like different shapes for no apparent reason. And then I was like, oh, this kind of looks like a fish. So I was like, oh, it's a fish. It's Dory. Who cares? And then and then this one was also just a shape. And I was like, oh, it kind of looks like an elephant. So what am I doing here? I'm just sitting and thinking. I felt like that was important to show. I was just, what am I thinking about? Everything's set up. So I see the line I'm trying to cut. I turned the whole thing around into a different line. Don't know why. So it probably took of all the time to make this thing, it probably took 10% of the time to actually make the shape. And then the rest of it was just sanding. I kind of didn't want it to look like I just cut it out of a block, which is exactly what I did. So I kind of wanted to shape it 3-dimensionally and not just 2, but I'll do that later. Here I decided it was a good idea to get the base done first, just because once I shape this thing organically, it's going to be harder to clamp, and also I won't want to clamp it because it's like a more or less the finished product, and I'm not trying to put more lines in it. So this is where I messed up. Excuse me. I went just too far, and it was confusing because the pen shows that I should have breached air, which I do. I do end up breaching air. And I ended up using a clear epoxy or a CB glue. I'm not sure why. I should have used, they make colors, They make colors for these things. So that's okay. It's a nice little Easter egg. If I ever sell it, I'll probably never, I really like this piece. I'll probably never sell it, but if I do, gotta be okay with that. It's a little, who cares? So what was really fun about this project was this router I got. I got a new router. The old router I had was good. It worked. It was like a table router. It was very light and flimsy, with a surprisingly powerful motor, and it just would toss things around the room. So that was scary. And this one's much safer, and you have a lot more control. So right now I'm just going around the edges. I'm not doing the angles yet. I'm just doing the sort of two-dimensional bits and edges that I couldn't get with the jigsaw, and that was really satisfying. That was good. The router bit wasn't really quite long enough, so I had to flip it around and do different angles. But all in all, pretty fun thing to do. But at a certain point, it got really hard to clamp this thing down and work on the part of the thing that I wanted to work on. So that's really where the most time was spent, was first of all sitting there like this and just thinking, and then getting clamps and clamping it, and then trying to do the thing, and the thing slips, and that's what it takes to do this. Just a lot of kicking yourself in the face. I don't think that's possible. You'd have to have a real interesting, proportionate. So yeah, I think this video is probably. I'm bored by this thing. So now I'm getting into the routing bit that's around the edges, as you can see, and it took a really long time. I ended up doing many passes, going a little deeper each time, but you can only go so deep. So then I was basically going through different types of ways to remove wood, which is what I'm always doing. But I went through the circular sander, orbital sander, and then this little what's it called, a drum sander bit, which I just used on my drill, which was fine, but it got really heavy after a while, and also the drill bits don't last very long, especially because I'm supposed to be removing so much material. So I ended up using a planer again to try to get a little more dimension width-wise, and that ended up working. Obviously, I'm going to have to go back and sand it because it's just going to take off chunks. So that's kind of what I was looking for, and it actually worked out really well. And I just did the same thing to the other side to even it out. And now there's like a nice little, you know, that he's got a nice little curve to his butt. So this is one of the first times I used a planer, which is not what they're used for, but that is art. And yeah, look at that. It was like really satisfying to do. Can you stop coughing, please? No, it's kind of fun to watch. I think I don't like watching it because it's me, you know? Not that it's cringy, but it's just like, yeah, you're videoing your little project. I don't know. Think good book. Being a sweet guy. Being a sweet guy. Where's the ball? There was deer here earlier, and he was so calm. He just like watched them and like sat, like Mufasa from the Lion King, just sat and watched as they like walked by. So regal. So yeah, I ended up trying to back to the video. I ended up trying to fill this thing with sawdust, which is what I usually do, and I just kept trying, and the amount of times I kept trying to fill this thing with sawdust was unbelievable, and I thought that was a true testament of my character. Like, how many times are you going to try this? Anyway, I decided that it was impossible and that was never going to happen. And then I gave up on that for a little bit, came back and I was like, oh, I'll just put something in there, like a rag, or I ended up using a piece of sandpaper, and it worked. It worked fine. So, you know, it's important to give up because no, but seriously, it was like I gave up. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. It was like at the end of the day, and then I went away and I gave up like mentally, and I came back like 10 minutes later and I was like, oh, I'll just like put a thing in there and then put some glue. So quitting is good. Quitting is good for success. Mini quits, you know. So now she's starting to shape up. I think her name's Ollie, and I think she's a girl elephant. Not, you know, for any reason, just, you know, she's just got feminine vibes to her. I think the fish is probably also a girl. Dory and Ollie. Ollie, I guess, could be a dude, but it's not. It's a girl. My neck hurts. I need like a pillow right here, and this will just be heaven right here. I'm in a hammock. Got a coat pup. I'm just watching myself do stuff. I'm watching myself do stuff and videoing myself watching myself do stuff and watching the video of me watching myself do stuff. So there's a lot of ego going on right here. Probably good for me. Yeah, send that, bud. How did I have the focus to do this? I guess it's like it's really like not difficult. So this is what I'm talking about with the tapered butt. Woodworking is, I don't think, unless you're doing like fine cabinetry and or like trim or something like that, I think it's very difficult. And even then, like, it's not rocket science, but it's just, it can be such a pain in the butt if you don't treat it like a meditation. In that, just like, that's not really a good way to put it. If you don't treat it like a journey and not just like, oh, I want to make this today, and then it ends up taking many more steps than you thought to make this, and then you're like, oh, that took like all day. It's like, no, that's what you signed up for. You signed up for a thing, and it just took longer than you thought. And the point is to enjoy it. I say all this having, thrown many a tantrum in my workshop, but That's the idea, you know. She's like, well, I want to do this. Look at this. And this was a good piece to do too, because once I got the shape down, and as long as it's like stable and isn't gonna fall over, I couldn't really mess it up. I mean, I did mess it up. Like I drilled a hole in the thing, and well, that was kind of it. But like, it was just like, well, how smooth do you want to make it? How, you know, even do you want these curves to flow? And then yeah, how much grit sandpaper do you want to be sanding? And it's like, well, I could do a little bit more, and then I'd be done with it, and I'd be like, well, yeah, I kind of, you know, it's done, but like I could keep working on it. So it was kind of one of those. This is the inside view of what it looks like through the vase hole, and then I'm like covering up my fingers so you can like see. It's like translucent. Could have used a colored glue. You know, you live and you learn. And now for some reason I'm just hand sanding. It's just difficult to like hold this thing down and use an orbital sander or like a drum sander. So I think at the end I didn't want to like put any more big scratches on it, so I was just holding it, and I sweat so much that I have to use a towel also. So these are the things, you know, these are the things that really pile it on. Like, you gotta make sure you're not sweating on this thing at this point, because then, you know, it's gonna absorb the stain differently, which is stupid. I don't think I'll ever use stain again. I don't know why stain is a thing, because it kept, not like discoloring, but it would make parts of the wood darker than other parts of the wood. And it wasn't because I sanded it unevenly, which is possible, but I don't think so. Like I spread it on evenly. I don't know why it kept happening, but I ended up like sanding this thing and applying stain like 2 or 3 or 4 times, like way too many times. And now I've, I guess this was like a couple months ago. I've since then abandoned that and come up with a new way to finish wood. But it's always like an ongoing process, you know. Each piece is like its own mess of issues. Not issues, but like there's just so many ways to treat wood and finish it. And depending on what kind of cut you have and what kind of wood you have and how you finished it, you know, there's just a lot of variables, a lot of options. But it, you know, turned out good. I think what maybe happened here is I got the darks really dark by using stain, and then I kept sanding, and so it would remove, I think, the lighter layer. And at the end I ended up using mineral oil, which is my go-to now. It's also food safe, which is fantastic. And it just doesn't really discolor or muddy up the wood at all. And it really just like, it's like clicking enhanced. It's just like, ooh, wow, that's pretty. That's a pretty piece of wood. Yeah. And I wanted this thing to sit flat, but it ended up not. It sort of, as you saw earlier, it was like kind of tilted up at the end of it. So I actually kind of like that, and I played with it a little bit and made the tilt a little bit more. So now it kind of sits on its like rumpus, on its like almost like hind legs, which was not intended. It wasn't the plan, but I kind of just liked that, and I kind of just went with it. You know, you go with the flow. And at this point, I'm just finishing up with some mineral oil, which was like immediately like, oh, I should have used this immediately. It was the first thing I should have used. And Ollie's almost there. Also, a mistake I made is once you have your piece sanded to the grit you want it sanded to, and you start applying stuff, for the most part, don't sand it again. You want to buff. So I didn't know about buffing when this was made. Now I know about buffing. I could have like maybe buffed that out a little bit. But instead I just like chased my tail in circles, like applying stain and then sanding and then stain and then sanding, which gave it a unique look. Like maybe I achieved something here that I couldn't have otherwise achieved. But that was exhausting. It was kind of exhausting trying to be like, well, how do I finish this thing? Where's the end? So look, I'm just sanding it again. What am I doing? It's just a lot. It was a lot of that, you know. But this got me to get my ducks in tow, and now I sort of have a good structure of like how to finish a thing. So anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. You're the best. Hit the buttons, and I'll be posting in the future. Let me know if you like this kind of video, or if you have a recommendation of videos you'd like to see me do, or things you'd like me to chat about. or if you don't like anything, also welcome. All right, take care. Well, I gotta make sure this syncs up. You know. Oh, I'm standing again. Would you look at that? Wow, I really did a thorough job on that one. Good for you. And I only videotaped like some of my work. It was like 2 hours of time-lapse footage when I was done. That's how many hours is that? Who cares? There's growth. And a elephant vase.